Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host, Lorraine, a career and executive coach dedicated to helping clients who are 40 plus to break free from feeling stuck and transform into the unstoppable force you're destined to become. Let's start the uprising. Hey everyone, welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host, Lorraine. This is episode 181, Career Reinvention After 50 with Kavita Ahuja. And I'm your host, Lorraine. So first, please take a moment to review the show on Apple. I would really appreciate your rating, your review, and hit follow so that you never miss an episode. And in case you are new, you can find the archive of this show at careeruprising.com/podcast. So how is everybody doing? Well, so for today, we have an amazing topic. We're going to be talking again about looking for work, reinventing yourself after 50. And the reason we are is because you might recall when I kind of rebooted the show at the beginning of the year, one of the things I wanted to do was really double down on our focus on midlife and the challenges that come up at that stage, whether in your career or any other area of your life. And maybe part of it is because I'm hitting that midlife part, my age myself at 41. I don't even know exactly how we define midlife anymore. I think it's like a moving target, but it's becoming more and more relevant for me personally and for my clients to really focus in on the challenges and the nuances of that stage of life. So to that end, we're having more and more guests and more topics that focus on what life is like and the joys and the challenges, the barriers, whatever issues come up when we hit that 40, 50 plus stage. So we have a wonderful guest in the house today. Kavita is a career and life transition coach. She is also a podcast host. The Midlife Reinvention is her show, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. So she, very much like me, is dedicated to empowering clients to transition into a work and life situations that align so much better with their strengths, passions, and values. I love the sound of that. She also has a proprietary coaching methodology that we're going to talk about today called the Pyramid of Reinvention. That sounds intriguing. I want to know more about what that is. And she has a proven system of rediscovery culminating in something called inspired action, which is another phrase that I absolutely love. So get ready to be motivated and inspired. If you are at, over, or even approaching that 50 plus mark, this episode is for you. So welcome to the show, Kavita.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. It's a pleasure to be here, and what a great introduction. And I love everything you do to help the women at this stage of life. So I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We have similar missions, yet kind of different styles and approaches. So I'm really, really curious today to hear more about you and how you approach some of these challenges with clients. So first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you? How did your career and your own personal experiences kind of shape how you got into the work you're doing today?
Yes, thanks for asking, Lorraine. I often say that I really believe that everything that we've done to our lives, shape who we are. And that happened with me. And I was previously, for 25 years, I was actually in the corporate pharmaceutical career industry. And everything that I've done in that career, again, I tell my clients not to regret anything, because everything that we do makes us unique, right? So that career taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about science and technical knowledge, and it also taught me a lot about understanding and listening to the needs of my customers, how to collaborate, how to lead. And those are the skills I still use to this day in my own business, and so I think I really want to stress that, and that if you're looking at career transition or life transition, it's always about the experiences that we've had that we can apply to what we're doing now. And so what I'm doing now, as you mentioned in the introduction, is I'm a career and life transitions coach, and primarily for women, in this midlife stage of life. And when I turned, when I turned 50, I did have this feeling, this kind of voice inside of me that began to question, even though I had a very successful career, from the outside, everything seemed perfect. Internally, I had a voice that kind of started questioning, is this what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life? And who did I really want to be? And that happens often, and I'm sure you've seen that with your clients and people in your community, is that our values and our passions and our strengths change over time, right? And so it's about aligning with those things. And I think when we align with those things, then that's when these transitions can actually be very successful. So that's a bit about myself. I was in the pharmaceutical industry before I transitioned about 5 years ago, and I wanted to really understand what the challenges of women going through, especially during midlife. What is the challenges that they face? And so I also started a podcast, as you mentioned, called the Midlife Reinvention podcast. And, it's been a wonderful journey so far. I'm learning every day, but I absolutely love it. And it's just, it's amazing to be able to help transform lives in the process. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. I love how you took your personal challenges and experience and then funneled that into your coaching practice. Very similar story for me. And I like how you said, don't regret anything. I completely agree with that. And I think it's very easy to do that sometimes, but you just have to look at it as, stepping stones along the way, and you just took everything you had in that career and kind of leveraged it and pushed it forward into a new purpose. And I think that's amazing. So you're at the 5-year mark in your practice now. Congrats.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. I would say that I think that's just to add on to that. I think that we change as individuals, and when you feel as though maybe there's things more you have to learn about yourself, there's more skills that maybe that you want to cultivate, and maybe there's passions inside of you that have been buried. That's a time when it's an indication that this is a time to transition or to reinvent yourself. So that's what happened to me. And yes, you're right. I realized that a lot of other women were going through similar things as I was. So it became my mission to help them.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it is about that stage in life that is so pivotal? Because it is a pivotal stage. And I think, you touched on something. It's a point of reevaluation for a lot of people when they get to that stage. Why do you think that is? Why does it always happen at midlife? What is so important or pivotal about that stage?
Yeah, I like the word pivotal, because it is pivotal. And I actually dislike the word midlife crisis, because I don't think it's a crisis at all, because it's really on how you view it. It could be pivotal, and it's also, I believe, really a huge opportunity, right? And I think it's so special because at this stage, I'm speaking, mostly about women, but, we have played many roles in our lives, right? Lorraine, like we're mothers, perhaps wives, daughters, sisters, employees, bosses, and all these roles, like they really take kind of pieces of us, right? And so it becomes a stage where now it's like, what is our identity? It's about rediscovering our identity, right? And this midlife stage is very unique in that, for example, we may have been in careers for a long time, like I was. Maybe we're not as fulfilled anymore with our careers. Perhaps now we have children, now they're leaving the nest, and now we're empty nesters, and now we're like, now what do I do? Who am I again, right? Or maybe we're going through health transitions like menopause, which can really wreak havoc on our lives and our bodies, right? And all these things are triggers, right? And sometimes, and especially at midlife phase, these triggers can happen all at once, and can be a very overwhelming time if we look at it in a whole. But the work is really is, again, is to look at this as an opportunity to really just rediscover our identity. And by really reevaluating our, I keep on going back to that, our strengths, our passions, and our values. And, especially now, we live for so much longer, right? And so we want our lives we have so much more life to live. So it's why not design the next phase of our life so that we are fulfilled, right? And that we do relearn who we are and our identities. And we don't want to look back and regret our lives looking back, right? So I really think that although there's a lot of challenges, like I mentioned, but I think if we view this time as an opportunity more than anything, that's the key. I don't know how you feel about that, but
yeah, I love how you're kind of turning that around and saying instead of a midlife crisis, it's a midlife opportunity. That's what we should call it, maybe. I think so. That sounds much better, right? I don't want that midlife crisis. That sounds awful, right? It makes me feel like I should dread midlife, but you shouldn't. You want to embrace it, right? And just pivot along with it and go with the flow of, where life is kind of taking you at that stage and capitalize on the opportunity. I like that much, much better.
Yes.
Let's go with your version. Perfect. So this all sounds so overwhelming to people, right? We're talking about big, heavy things like reevaluating your core values. You said redesigning your life, right? 'Cause sometimes it means changing your job, moving to a new city, even letting go of a relationship. A lot of these things happen at this stage, right? That sounds inviting, but also really, really scary and overwhelming. How do you help people to do this? Tell us more about some of the steps people can take, in I love the name of your methodology, the Pyramid of Reinvention. When I heard that, I was like, ooh, that sounds intriguing. I don't know what that means. How do you help people who are feeling overwhelmed with it?
Yeah, I think you're right. It is, it is overwhelming. And, if we take it kind of a step-by-step process, and that's why this process that the methodology that I use with my clients is very effective, because it's something that I went through and I did myself, and it's a process I take my clients through. And really, the basis of it, if you think of a pyramid, is the main first step is really that rediscovery phase, right? Often we think we can change things, fix things immediately by, like, let's say, like you mentioned, changing a job or moving cities. But unless and until we really go into the deep understanding of why we're doing these things, then those changes won't stick, right? So the first step in this process of the Pyramid of Reinvention is rediscovery. So the first thing is understanding your strengths or your superpowers. We often don't acknowledge or even celebrate the great things that we've done in our lives. So what is it that you're really good at that people come to you for? What are skills that you maybe need to cultivate more? The second is what are you really passionate about now? Not 10 years ago, but now, and often, we think about when we were kids, like, what do we do when time just went by? And, can we bring that same passion into today? That's the next thing. And then the third is our changing values. What do we value now that maybe we didn't before? And for example, it could be now more giving back to community versus maybe climbing the corporate ladder, right? So all these things are important, and those culminate in what is called our ikigai, which is a Japanese term for reason for being. So that is the main first step in the process, is really to determine your ikigai. The second is visioning. So who do you really want to be? I take my clients through a visioning exercises to find what's called your inner mentor, which is really you 20 or 30 years from now. And can you envision her in great and vivid detail? And what is she telling you, right? The third step is really overcoming your obstacles. Like, what is getting in the way of reaching your inner mentor? Is it your inner critics telling you that you're not good enough? Are they assumptions you have about yourself, or some limiting beliefs that have been carried through from your childhood? So there's ways and techniques to overcome those. And, that's an ongoing process, but it's really important to, in order to build the confidence, your confidence, which is the fourth step, is to help, is to overcome these obstacles. So how do we build the confidence to make, to implement the plan that we've figured out, right? It's about our words, our thoughts, the actions we take or the actions we don't take sometimes, right? And then the fifth and sixth steps are action and accountability, right? So how are you going to actually take action to implement your plan? And how are you going to remain accountable for your plan? So it's about daily actions, small action steps, and sticking to it, and maybe, either, joining communities or seeking, guidance from other people. But it really is about, we have to be able to be accountable and stick to our actions in order for them to remain and to be sustainable. So those are the 6 steps. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for outlining that. That makes a lot of sense. And to zoom in for a moment on number 3, overcoming obstacles. What are the most common obstacles? Is it usually the self, something internal, something external? What are the most common obstacles that you are seeing among clients?
That's a great question. Honestly, Lorraine, obstacles are I'd say 99% are internal. There really are internal voices that tell us in one way or another that we're not good enough, or that we can't do the thing, or they're, different forms of that, like I'm not qualified enough to do this, for example. Like, many clients coming to me saying, I really want to, I want to start a new business. I really have this passion to do this, but I don't think I can't do this because I'm not qualified enough. So it's those internal voices that if we let them take over, then they will stop us in our tracks. And we have to ask ourselves, why are they there, right? What is the reason that we have these inner critics that are coming up? And the reason is they want us to be safe, right? They want us to keep us in our comfort zone. And the only way to really grow and to design your next stage is to recognize when they are there and, acknowledge that they're there to keep you safe. But you don't need that safety anymore. If you want to grow, if you want to really rediscover who you are, then you have to say no to those inner critics and move on, So, yeah. I mean, there's a whole series of things I can go into, but, that's basically it. Is
about the ways we hold ourselves back. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. No, that's interesting. I agree with you. 99% of all barriers are internal. And there's another, coach that I have followed in the years past who does a lot of similar work, and she says all problems are thought problems. And I love that as well, because if you think about it, there is almost always simply a reframing or a new perspective needed to move through anything. And it's hard work to reevaluate all that. And especially as we get older, we kind of get set in our ways and you have to undo a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
It's necessary.
We're so used to keeping ourselves safe in a way, but this, I keep on going back to that opportunity thing, right? Is that if you have the opportunity now to really redesign your life the way you want, what is stopping you? And usually it is our internal beliefs that, stop us. And if we can get rid of those, or at least lessen the influence of those, then the design stage is very exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So what would be the first action step? So for somebody listening today that resonates with this, feels stuck, which is a word I hear all the time. You probably do too. That's usually how they characterize it. Feels stuck, feels overwhelmed, thinks this all sounds fabulous, but how do I get started? What would you say to them? What's something they could do?
Yeah, well, that's a really, really good question. And I was kind of contemplating, like when you said an action step, I would say that it's really actually not an action step at all. because we tend to just go right into action, right? And I think I mentioned it before, is that we often go, okay, well, there's a difference between transition and change. And change is when we think, okay, I'll just switch jobs because I'm not happy with this. I'll just do this without really getting into the heart of the internal reflection first. So I would say the first step is that internal reflection, because when you do that, then the change that you make will stick, right? So I really do think that it's about acknowledging first and celebrating what has led you to this point, and then really asking yourself some really important questions. And there's two questions that I'd like to share that I think are really kind of an important questions to begin this process of rediscovery. And the first one is, the question is, what is it time to let go of in my own life right now? So every transition starts with letting go, right? Like it could be, for example, an attitude or belief, an assumption about yourself we were just talking about. So you need to let go of those things before you can move on. The second question is, what is standing backstage in the wings of my life, waiting to make its entrance? So these are big questions, right? That before you take the action, if you reflect on these things, then you'll be more designed to actually have those things stick in your life. And rather than going straight to the action, it's about really understanding deeply why am I being triggered by these things? Why do I want to change my career, right? And so that would be my suggestion, is really
No, I love
internal
that.
reflection.
Yeah, you're right. People do jump into action. I see that as well, where they just know something's disconnected in their career, so they just start applying for other jobs and start skipping right to the action.
Without really going as to what is it that align with me, with my, what I really want to do, right? Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
Then they end up in the same thing again, right? With why is this happening to me? So I love that caveat there, that action is important, but it's actually not your first step. Could not agree with that more. I also see that with people who they want to make a change. So they're like, okay, well, can you help me update my resume? And I'm like, yes, but not first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the first thing we're going to do.
Yeah. In the beginning, you had talked about inspired action. And so I'm not saying that you don't take action, because action is the most important thing, right? But when you do this process of rediscovery first, then the action you take will be inspired. You'll really know why. It's about knowing your why, right? I keep on going back to that, knowing your why, your ikigai, your reason for being. If you know that, then the action you take will be inspired.
Yes.
And if you don't, then it'll just be probably a repeat of things that maybe were not successful or didn't work the first time.
100%. Absolutely. I love this conversation. Thank you so much. We could go on and on, but tell us, I know, this is the stuff I geek out on, and I know you do too.
Yes.
All this self-improvement. It's my favorite subject. So where can people go to learn more about you, Kavita, and your business, and take the next step and take action in the form of perhaps connecting with you, which would be an excellent action step. I would absolutely recommend that. So how can people connect with you?
Absolutely. I appreciate that. The best place would be to go to my website. My coaching program is called It's My Time Now Coaching. So it's mytimenowcoaching.com. And you can learn all about my services there. I have a one-on-one coaching program called It's My Time Now. I also have an online course by the same name. And as you mentioned before, I have a popular podcast called The Midlife Reinvention, which you were just recently on as well.
Yay, check out you too.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really happy to offer a free consultation to your listeners. They can reach me at Kavita, Kavita, at itsmytimenowcoaching.com. I'm happy to talk through, what your hopes are, dreams are, and, take that first step and do the rediscovery process, or at least, bring out some things that maybe you haven't thought about. So I'm happy to offer that as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time and for the work that you do. And I would encourage everyone to do that and mention that you are a Career Uprising listener if you do reach out to Kavita. Absolutely. And thank you so much for your time and your insights today. Love it. Congrats on 5 years, and here's to the next 5 for you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I really appreciate it, and appreciate your work as well. And, thank you for the listeners for tuning in as well.
Absolutely. And we will be back, listeners, with another episode. We're cranking them out pretty steadily, not planning on a summer break, you guys. So keep tuning in. There should be more podcasts coming all throughout the summer. And you can find the archive at careeruprising.com/podcast. We'll be back in another week. Hey, it's Lorraine, and I want to say thanks for listening. If you found value in today's show, I would be honored to have your review on Apple Podcasts. It's the single best way to help this show be found by other listeners, and you'll earn some good karma. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you next time on Career Uprising.